Demons are often pretty poor conversationalists, and I can tell you right now, the stories that we're going to look at today are no exception. What is good, my friends? My name is Nicholas Playlog, and in this video we're going to be looking at the top 5 real messages from demons, part 2. Let's get into it. Number 5 on this list is a story from a man named Ryan Eastaugh. Ryan doesn't live there anymore, but he used to live in Bermuda, and that's where his demonic encounter took place. He was young at the time that he got his message, only 9 years old at that time, still living at home with his parents. One evening when he was lying in bed, he found it extremely hard to go to sleep, which was strange because he was a 9-year-old and usually he got into bed and slept like a baby. But he remembers that night that he couldn't sleep because he felt a strange sense of foreboding. Like that strange feeling like something's going to happen, or that you forgot something, you aren't prepared for something, a general sense of anxiety. He lay awake in his bed, staring up at the ceiling until he started to feel cold. A sudden chill immediately in the air. He said that it felt as if the room dropped by about 20 degrees. Scared and cold, Ryan wrapped himself in his blankets as tightly as he could. It was at this point though that the ceiling started to morph. The shadows turned into the walls of the ceiling and it started moving in unsettling ways as if something was coming out at him. The shadows formed what looked to be a dark, devilish complexion, but it kept moving so that it was never one thing for very long. Petrified and frozen where he was, Ryan could only stare up at the ceiling and hope that it didn't hurt him. The shadowy face was fixated on Ryan and held him down with its stare. Then, from apparently nothing, the shadowy ceiling figure said, and Ryan remembers these words to this day, "Next time will be the last time." And that was it. The demon left, the chill in the air disappeared, and Ryan was left in his bed alone. He obviously told his parents about it, but they didn't believe him, saying that it was probably a nightmare. The thing about Ryan's story though, is that after a while, he wasn't scared of these words, but actually thankful. If next time will be the last time, then I better make that time pretty freaking great. Whatever that may be in reference to. Now he's a man and leads a successful life, living with the mentality that today could be his last day, so I better make it bloody awesome. Number 4 is from a woman named Kimberly Hagan. She had a run-in with a demon in a very old apartment building that she used to live in. Now Kimberly occasionally dabbled with a spirit box and tried to communicate with past loved ones. It seems like this wasn't the proper location to do that though, because during this process she awakened a demon. She says that at nighttime her bed would shake and she would be woken up to a nasty dark crow-like voice. The voice would speak to her and tell her some very nasty things, often saying that nobody loved her and that she was better off dead. It also tried to spark some unhealthy addictions. Kimberly said that she used to drink a lot to the point that she was ruining her life. However, after some solid rehabilitation, she managed to get clean. This demonic voice would continually tempt her with alcohol, telling her that she's better off drunk. Basically, any negative thought or habit you can think of, this voice would echo it to Kimberly in her apartment. She tried to go to spiritualists and seek their advice, ask them if there's anything that she could do to fend off this demon or get rid of it from her home. They tried a few different things, but nothing seemed to work or keep it out for good. After a few months of living like this, she couldn't take it anymore and she had to move and leave the demon behind her. She feels bad for whoever moved in after her, but at the end of the day, she had to look out for her own well-being. Number 3 on this list is from a woman named Bianca. In 2013, Bianca was living in New York City. This was before the days that Uber was a thing, so taxis were still the way to go. One Saturday morning, Bianca was on her way to meet her friends for brunch across town. She hailed a taxi and got in. The person driving was an elderly man who, based on his accent, sounded pretty Italian. They shared a decent conversation with one another right up until the intersection of 18th and 65th. The light was out here and there was a buildup of traffic. This was also a special intersection to Bianca because it was at 65th and 18th that her father got hit by a car and died 7 years prior. Then all of a sudden at this intersection, in the monotony of the traffic, time slowed down. The car slowed, the sound slowed, everything got slower. It felt to Bianca like she just entered the movie Inception and she was in some dreamlike state. The old Italian man's head then swiveled around without the rest of his body moving. His face wasn't his actual face though. It was the face of her dead father. Absolutely stunned, Bianca started to tear up and was completely shell-shocked. Her father's face looked at her and said, "Bianca, move. Hell is not your fate, but you must move." The face turned back around and time started up again. Everything exactly how it was a minute ago. The Italian man's face, everything, the cars, all of it. Absolutely bawling though, Bianca got out of the car and had to throw up. She couldn't go to her brunch and she had to go home, walking the entire way. To this day, she doesn't know whether it was a demon, the ghost of her father, or what it was, but it shook her to her core, and she's never gone near that intersection or taken a taxi ever again. Number 2 on this list is a story posted 4 years ago by a man named Donald Wesson. Donald recounts how several years ago he was 11 years old and he had a friend named Ashley. Ashley had recently moved to his town from Wisconsin. She left Wisconsin initially though due to a pretty bad tragedy that occurred to her family. Her house caught on fire and her mother and sister both didn't make it out alive. Only her father, and her brother survived. This obviously created for a pretty rough upbringing, but Ashley as a whole was still a pretty nice girl and wasn't as damaged as some may suspect. Donald says though that he started to notice that when she came to school, she would have red marks on her ankles and her lower legs. He thought that maybe she could be getting abused at home, but after meeting her father and brother realized quickly that that wasn't the case. One evening when he was over at Ashley's with another friend named Eli, they were all having a sleepover. They went to bed and roughly 10 minutes into going to sleep, Ashley got up out of bed and went down the stairs. She was gone for about 15 minutes, and both of the boys roused themselves out of curiosity. They were going to go downstairs to check on her when she appeared in the doorway. She was holding a large butcher knife in her hands. Both Donald and Eli started to freak out a little bit and started trying to get Ashley's attention. But rather than show them any interest at all, Ashley takes the knife and starts stabbing the wall, chanting out some strange language as she does it. Scared for their safety, Eli starts to bawl, but this grabs Ashley's attention. She drops the knife and gets down on all fours and rapidly crawls to Eli. Donald very quickly kicks the demon that used to be his friend right in the face and grabs Eli and runs out of the house. They wait outside the home for roughly 20 minutes, but nobody comes after them. Then, very carefully, they head back inside, and Ashley is now fast asleep where she was before. Apparently, Ashley has no memory of that experience at all. I suppose this story was less about a message and more just about a scary run-in. However, actions speak louder than words, and I think that those actions were saying to get out. Now, number 1 is actually a story from a viewer that commented on the first part of this video. The viewer's name is Anna Kelly, so shout out to you, Anna. Thank you for commenting. Now, I do want to warn you guys, this story, from my understanding, is about the incubus demon, so it's not pretty. Anna writes, "This happened in 2008, and I still remember every terrible detail. I'd just gotten into bed and covered with a sheet when I heard a noise at the foot of the bed, the right corner. The mattress made a creaking sound, like it does when somebody climbs into bed. I looked, but saw nothing, but I felt it crawling closer. I closed my eyes tightly, hoping that it would go away. Then, I felt the sheet being pulled off of my body. I opened my eyes, and I saw the sheet being pulled by nothing. Then, the putrid smell of sulfur and rotten flesh hit my nose. It was gag-inducing. It could singe the hairs in your nostrils. Then, I saw it. It was in the form of a male, so I'll just call it he. Anyway, he was 7 feet tall and massive with 3 arms and 2 legs. His skin looked like layers of charred bits. He had only a few sprigs of coarse-looking brittle hair. His teeth were pointed and slimy, and his breath was a lot worse close up. He had no eyes, just black holes. I looked into those black holes. All of a sudden, all my emotions left me. I felt like nothing. I can't explain what it feels like to feel nothing. Then I felt the heavy weight of him on me. He pinned my arms at my sides. He put one claw-like hand over my mouth and said in an evil growl, "No one will hear you scream. No one can help you now." I found that I couldn't make any noise at all. I don't need to go into too much detail about what happened next, but it felt very cold and unforgiving. Well, the next morning when I got out of bed, I noticed my inner thighs were very sore, and there were red scratch marks on them. No human could leave those kinds of scratches with their nails. And it wasn't me. I'm a nail biter, nasty habit, I know. But that's the one and only time I've been attacked like that. It was my fault though. I have a heart necklace that I wanted to use to see if anyone passed away in my apartment. I let the necklace hang and went through the alphabet. It would be stiff as a board, but when I got to the letter J, it started moving. Clockwise, I think. Anyway, it spelled out Joanne. I was attacked not long after messing around with that stupid junk. I figured at least it wasn't a Ouija board. It took me a while, but with prayer and faith, I was able to cast out those evil things. Of course, there are still many other demons slithering around us in this world, and some target me for a different reason, though now I know how to fight them. And after that attack, I will not allow any conjuring items, tarot cards, crystals, etc. in my home. I definitely do not want to go through that ever again. No one should have to do that. And no, you are absolutely right. Nobody should ever have to go through that. That is quite the story. Anna, all I can say is that I really appreciate you feeling comfortable with sharing that. So thank you. But that's it, guys. That's our video of the top 5 real scary messages from demons, part 2. Still, I'm very curious to know if any of you guys have had any experiences before with a demon, so let me know in the comments. Please hit the like button, smash the subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.